Let's get right into it. Number 12. The nightly editor you never hired. Here's something nobody warned you about. Every single night, while you're drooling into your pillow and dreaming about missing a flight you never booked, your brain is doing something far more unsettling than dreaming. It's editing. Quietly. Systematically. Like a little gremlin in a trench coat with a red pen. Going through every memory you made today and deciding what stays, what goes. And this is the fun part, what gets changed. This process has a name. It's called memory consolidation, and scientists will describe it to you in calm, measured tones like it's perfectly fine. It is not perfectly fine. What happens during sleep is that your brain takes the raw footage of your day, the arguments, the embarrassments, the one mildly funny thing your coworker said, and transfers it from short-term storage into long-term memory. Sounds helpful, right? Except transfer is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Because your brain doesn't copy your memories like a USB drive. It reconstructs them. Every single time. The hippocampus, your brain's memory librarian, except imagine the librarian is also an aspiring novelist, replays your experiences during sleep and essentially rewrites them based on context, emotion, and whatever else it decides matters. Studies out of institutions like MIT and the Max Planck Institute have confirmed that the version of a memory you wake up with is often measurably different from the version you went to bed with. Details shift. Emotional weight changes. The whole meaning of an event can quietly flip overnight without you noticing. And the worst part? You wake up completely confident that you remember exactly what happened. You don't. You remember what your brain decided happened after a full night of unsupervised editing. Your memories aren't a recording. They're a manuscript with revisions. Sleep tight. Number 11. Your emotions get a secret audit. Picture this. Something embarrassing happens to you on a Tuesday. Maybe you said the wrong name in a meeting. Maybe you tripped walking into a coffee shop. Whatever, it's bad. And Tuesday night you is mortified. You go to bed cringing. You wake up Wednesday and it doesn't feel quite as catastrophic. The memory is still there, but the sting is slightly less. You chalk it up to time healing all wounds, or maybe emotional resilience, or whatever self-help podcast you've been half listening to. Nope. That was your brain running an overnight emotional recalibration while you were unconscious and couldn't consent to it. During REM sleep, the deep, vivid dream phase, your brain actually strips the emotional charge from memories. Researchers at UC Berkeley, including neuroscientist Matthew Walker, found that REM sleep essentially allows your brain to replay distressing experiences in a neurochemical environment that's stripped of the stress hormone norepinephrine. Translation: your brain watches the horror movie of your worst memories, but with the volume turned down so it can process the plot without the jump scares destroying you. This is objectively a genius system. It's also completely creepy because you have zero input in it. Your brain decides on its own which emotions get softened, which memories get their dramatic music replaced with elevator jazz, and which ones, crucially, get amplified instead of dulled. Trauma, unresolved conflict, and emotionally loaded events don't always get quieted. Sometimes they get louder. Sometimes your brain is not calming you down. It's making sure you don't forget why you should be worried. Your nervous system is a drama coach and it works the night shift. Number 10. The source confusion starts here. Here's where it gets genuinely unsettling. You remember something, clear as day, detailed, specific. You can picture it. You might even be willing to swear to it in an informal argument over brunch. And it never happened. Or not quite that extreme, but equally disturbing. It happened, just not to you. Or it happened differently. Or you heard about it happening, and your sleeping brain quietly promoted that secondhand account to first-person memory without filing any paperwork. This is called source monitoring failure, and sleep is one of its biggest accomplices. During memory consolidation at night, your brain doesn't just archive events. It also weaves together related information from different sources. Things you read, things someone told you, things you imagined, things you dreamed, all get shuffled into the same archive folder as things you actually experienced. And the folder doesn't come with labels. When you try to recall a memory later, your brain doesn't retrieve a file, it reconstructs one, assembling it from available fragments. If some of those fragments came from a story you heard, a movie you watched, or a dream you had 3 weeks ago, your brain might use them anyway. With full confidence. No warning label. Eyewitness testimony being notoriously unreliable? This is a huge reason why. Sleep doesn't just consolidate memory. It blends sources, erases origins, and hands you back a smoothie when you asked for the original ingredients. And you'll drink it thinking you know exactly what's in it. Number 9. Dreams are gaslighting you. Dreams are often described as mystical, meaningful, spiritually charged experiences. People journal them. People pay therapists to decode them. People wake up convinced that dreaming about a red door or a spiral staircase means something profound about their inner life. Here's a more accurate description. Dreams are your brain generating random noise and then frantically inventing a story to explain it. And this is the part that should concern you, filing that invented story alongside your real memories. This isn't an exaggeration. Research into memory and dreaming has found that dream content can and does bleed into waking memory. It's called dream reality confusion, and it happens more often than anyone is comfortable admitting. You dream about a conversation. You wake up and, for a disorienting few seconds, sometimes longer, you're not entirely sure whether that conversation actually took place. Most of the time, you figure it out. But your brain spends measurable effort in those first waking moments sorting, "That was real," from "That was fabricated cinema your hippocampus produced at 3 a.m., and sometimes it gets it wrong. Studies have documented cases where people retain false memories sourced entirely from dreams, not in a dramatic clinical way, but in the small, mundane, deeply creepy way where someone swears they already told you something, or that a meeting was rescheduled, or that they already paid for something. They didn't forget. They dreamed it, and their sleeping brain stapled it into the real memory folder with the same confidence it staples everything else. Your brain is not just rewriting history. Some nights, it's writing fan fiction and shelving it next to the autobiography. Number 8. Sleep decides what you actually learned. You've probably heard that sleeping after studying helps you remember things. Good tip. Solid advice. What the tip leaves out is the more disturbing implication underneath it, which is that if sleep is what locks in learning, then sleep is also what decides what gets learned at all. Here's how it works. During slow-wave sleep, the deep, quiet, non-dreamy kind, your brain runs what neuroscientists lovingly call memory replay. The neural patterns that fired when you experience something during the day get refired during sleep, strengthening those pathways. This is how information moves from stuff that happened today to stuff I actually know. Without this process, most of what you experience just dissolves, which sounds fine until you think about the implications. You don't get to vote on what gets replayed. Your brain selects based on emotional significance, novelty, and how that information connects to things you already know. So the thing your boss said that made you anxious? Replayed. Reinforced. Neatly laminated and stored. The incredibly useful thing you read in that article you bookmarked? Probably not replayed. Probably evaporated by morning. Your brain runs its own curriculum at night behind your back, and the grading rubric is completely opaque to you. Furthermore, and this is where it tips from inconvenient to actually eerie, the replay isn't perfect. Memories are strengthened during consolidation, but they're also updated. If you learn something new during the day that slightly contradicts something you already believed, your brain doesn't politely keep both versions separate. It integrates them. It edits the older memory to align with the new information. You wake up thinking you've always understood it that way. You didn't. You were quietly corrected in your sleep, and you have absolutely no memory of the correction. Number 7. The overnight reframe. Something happens to you. It's ambiguous. Maybe a friend canceled plans last minute. Maybe your manager gave you feedback that could mean you're doing great, keep pushing, or could mean we're building a paper trail. In the moment, you genuinely don't know how to feel about it. You go to bed uncertain. You wake up certain. This is not because you processed it rationally in your sleep. This is because your brain picked an interpretation for you while you were unconscious, consolidated that version of the event, and presented it to you in the morning like it was always the obvious reading. The ambiguity got resolved overnight, not by logic, not by new information, but by your brain's mood regulation systems and whatever emotional context surrounded the memory when it got filed. Psychologists call this the sleep-dependent memory transformation. The idea that sleep doesn't just preserve memories, it actively transforms their meaning. A memory stored as threatening can be reprocessed as manageable. A memory stored as neutral can be upgraded to significant. The emotional tone of an event is not fixed when you experience it. It gets recalibrated during sleep based on factors you have no awareness of: your stress levels, your recent history, your dominant emotional state going into the night. So when you wake up and think, actually, I think that was fine, or actually, I think that was worse than I realized, you're not having a fresh insight. You're receiving the output of an overnight editorial process that ran entirely without your input. Your brain handed you a conclusion and erased the meeting where it was reached. Honestly, the audacity. Number 6. You're forgetting on purpose. Here's something your brain would prefer you didn't think too hard about. Forgetting isn't a malfunction. It's not your memory being bad, or your attention being weak, or the early warning sign of something you should Google at 2 a.m. in a panic. Forgetting is a feature, a deliberate, actively managed, nightly executed feature. And every time you sleep, your brain runs a quiet purge of things it has decided you don't need anymore. This process is called synaptic homeostasis, and the theory behind it, developed by neuroscientists Giulio Tononi and Chiara Sorelli, is that during waking hours your brain is constantly forming new connections. Every experience, every conversation, every mildly interesting thing you glance at on your phone adds synaptic weight. By the end of the day, your brain is essentially overloaded. Too much signal, too much noise. If nothing got cleared out, you'd wake up the next morning unable to distinguish between what matters and what was a banner ad you scrolled past in 2019. So sleep strips the weak connections down. Prunes. It scales back the low-priority links and strengthens the high-priority ones. What you wake up with is a curated version of the day. Not a faithful record, but an edited highlight reel chosen entirely by your brain's own internal algorithm. The unsettling part isn't that you forget things. It's that you forget things confidently. You don't wake up with gaps you can feel. You wake up with a seamless narrative that skips right over the deleted scenes. You have no idea what got cut. You have no idea what version of yesterday you're actually carrying. You just assume it's the whole thing. It is not the whole thing. It is never the whole thing. Your brain is a film editor who throws away the raw footage. Number 5. Memory lane is under construction. You have a memory from years ago. It's vivid. It has color and texture and a specific feeling attached to it. Maybe it's a childhood moment, a first heartbreak, a weird afternoon that stuck with you for no obvious reason. You've thought about it dozens of times. You'd stake a lot on its accuracy. Here's the problem. Every time you've thought about it, you've subtly changed it. This is called reconsolidation, and it is one of the most quietly devastating things neuroscience has confirmed about human memory. When you retrieve a memory, when you pull it up and look at it, you don't just view it. You reopen it. You make it temporarily unstable. And then, when you're done thinking about it, your brain resaves it. Except it resaves the version that was just sitting open in your mental workspace, exposed to your current mood, your current knowledge, your current emotional state. Whatever contaminated it while it was open gets baked in. Sleep accelerates and cements this process. Every time you recall a memory before bed, intentionally or not, while lying there in the dark not sleeping like a normal person, you're handing your brain a slightly updated file to consolidate overnight. And your brain saves it without a version history. There is no restore to original. There is no backup. There's just the current draft, which has been through God knows how many overnight revisions, and which you are now calling your memory. Researchers have actually used this mechanism therapeutically, carefully introducing new information during reconsolidation windows to help people reprocess traumatic memories, which is incredible and useful. But it also means that the same mechanism, running automatically every night without supervision, has been gently rewriting your personal history for your entire life. Everything you remember has been remembered before. Every time it changed a little, you just didn't get a notification. Number 4. Your brain borrows from other people's stories. There is a specific type of memory contamination that should make every single person deeply uncomfortable at family gatherings, and it goes like this. Someone tells you a story about something that happened to both of you. You don't remember it. They describe it in detail. You nod along. You go home. You sleep. You wake up and now you remember it. Not vaguely, specifically. You have a memory of it. With sensory details. With a feeling attached. That memory was assembled overnight from the story you were just told. Your brain took the narrative, rendered it in your own mental imagery, ran it through consolidation while you slept, and filed it under things I experienced instead of things I was told. You now have a first-person memory of a second-hand account, and you cannot tell the difference. This is called memory implantation in research settings, and the classic studies by psychologist Elizabeth Loftus demonstrated just how shockingly easy it is to install false memories in people using nothing more than suggestion and a little time. But you don't need a research study to do this to yourself. You do it constantly, passively, every time you absorb a story from someone else and let your sleeping brain process it alongside your own experiences. The broader implication is staggering. A meaningful portion of what you remember about your own life may have been partially or entirely constructed from stories you were told, photos you've seen, home videos you've watched, or collective family narratives that got repeated enough times that your brain quietly promoted them to personal memories. You were there. You remember it. Except you weren't or you were, but what you're remembering is the retelling, not the event. Your autobiography has ghostwriters. Several of them. They work nights. Number 3. The confidence is the bug. Let's talk about the most dangerous part of all of this. Not the editing. Not the pruning. Not the ghost-written autobiography or the dream content stapled into your real memories. The most dangerous part is that none of it comes with a disclaimer. You don't wake up with a little notification that says, 14 memories were modified overnight. Tap here to review changes. You wake up feeling like yourself, remembering your life, moving through your day with the completely unfounded confidence that your recollection of events is basically accurate. This is called metamemory, your brain's sense of how reliable your own memory is, and research consistently shows that people dramatically overestimate it. We're not talking about the occasional misremembered detail. Studies have shown that people can be deeply, emotionally, stubbornly wrong about significant autobiographical events, the kind of memories they describe as core to their identity, and still report feeling completely certain. Certainty and accuracy are not the same thing. They don't even run in the same circles. Your brain issues the feeling of certainty as a standard feature, regardless of whether the underlying memory deserves it. Sleep makes this worse because consolidation produces confident memories by design. The whole point of the overnight process is to take fragile, unstable short-term traces and harden them into durable long-term structures. Hardened memories feel solid. They feel real. The physical process of consolidation is literally indistinguishable from the inside, whether the memory being consolidated is accurate or not. You can't feel the difference between a well-preserved true memory and a beautifully consolidated false one. Which means your confidence about your own past is not evidence of anything. It's just a byproduct of having slept. Congratulations on that, by the way. Number 2. Last night changed this morning. This one is subtle and it is relentless. The memories you consolidate tonight will not just change what you remember about yesterday. They will change how you interpret today. Memory isn't just storage. It's the lens through which you process new information. When you wake up tomorrow, every new experience you have will be filtered through, compared against, and contextualized by the memory network your brain just finished reorganizing overnight. If your brain spent the night strengthening anxious associations, you'll read ambiguous situations as threatening tomorrow. If it spent the night softening the emotional weight of something painful, you'll approach similar situations with less fear. The overnight edit doesn't just revise the past. It quietly recalibrates your entire operating system for the day ahead. Neuroscientists sometimes describe sleep as emotional first aid for this reason, and in the best cases, it genuinely functions that way. Grief feels slightly more survivable after sleep. Rage cools into something more manageable. Problems that felt impossible at midnight occasionally look solvable at 7 a.m. not because anything changed in the world, but because your brain spent the night reorganizing how it's holding the problem. But here's the shadow side of that. The recalibration is not always in your favor. If you went to bed rehearsing a grievance, your brain may have spent the night building an airtight case for it. If you fell asleep in a spiral, some of that architecture gets reinforced. The morning version of you isn't an objective fresh start. It's the output of an overnight process that was heavily influenced by the emotional state you carried into sleep. What you feel when you wake up is, in part, the conclusion your sleeping brain reached about your life. You didn't arrive at it consciously. It was waiting for you when you opened your eyes. Number 1. You've never remembered anything twice the same way. Here's the one that ties it all together, and it's the kind of thought that's best had somewhere comfortable because it has some weight to it. You have never, not once in your entire life, retrieved the same memory twice in exactly the same form. Every single time you remember something, the memory is reconstructed from fragments. Every single time you reconstruct it, your current state bleeds in. Every single time you go to sleep afterward, the newly contaminated version gets consolidated in place of the previous one. There is no original. There was never an original. The very first time you remembered something, you were already reconstructing it rather than replaying it, already coloring it with the mood of the moment, already beginning the long chain of overnight revisions that have continued every night since. The memory you have of your happiest day has been processed through every hard night you've had since then. The memory you have of your worst moment has been softened, sharpened, recontextualized, and rebuilt through every sleep cycle between then and now. The you that experienced those things and the you that remembers them are not working from the same file. They never were. This is the part where some people find it destabilizing and some people find it oddly freeing. If your memories are constructions rather than recordings, then the story you tell about your own life is more fluid than it feels. The past isn't a fixed thing you're stuck with. It's a living document, being quietly edited every single night by a brain that is doing its absolute best, with imperfect tools, to prepare you for tomorrow, which is either beautiful or completely terrifying, and your sleeping brain will probably decide which one by morning. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.